As of this morning, Parliament is still on suspension again or on recess. We don't know when the Speaker will call on Parliament for another sitting, but what he said yesterday is that they are on recess indefinitely. You're still watching Prime Morning. My name is Rosa Felly, and this is the News Flash segment. And we'll be delving into that conversation heavily, and I'm excited to say that I have Professor John Osei-Kwapong, who is a political analyst, joining us for the conversation. This is the first time you're coming to the studio, isn't it? Good morning. How are you? It's good to have you here. Fantastic. And I also have Dr. Palgrave Wachidankwa, who's representing the NPP this morning. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well.
I love your colors.
Thank you very much.
Today you are clothed in colors. I'm just wondering.
We're showing our presence.
I can tell.
Presence, our majority presence.
So yesterday it was quite interesting on social media where we had, the NPP say the NPP says they are majority in Parliament, and the NDC still says they are majority in Parliament, and everybody is given a reason why they are majority in Parliament. And so the Speaker, we call on you. Probably you should call them back and let us know who is majority and who is not, especially for the sake of we, the media personnel, because we don't know how to address them. We don't want to go and call anybody minority and we'll be blasted again. No more. And so we'll be delving into that, and Adele Umar Ibrahim will be joining us pretty shortly for that conversation as well. Let me quickly read the front papers and then we take it from there. The front page of the newspaper, sorry. The Republic Press newspaper, Bagbe shuts Parliament as he yields to Supreme Court orders. GAF refutes allegation of interference in Parliament. Now, yesterday we did see the Ghana Armed Forces gathered there, and it wasn't what we thought it was. And so quickly they issued a statement and made us aware that it's actually something they do all the time. Every Tuesday, they go there, they sweep the premises, and then they leave. And truthfully, they left, so they didn't stay throughout the proceedings. Esla cries for Parliament, urges Speaker AI to restore order. National Chairman for Tanker Drivers condemns attack by police. High Court strikes out Bernard Moner's case against EC, and peace non-negotiable opinion marking to the NDC. That'll be it for the Republic Press newspaper. The next newspaper is the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper. The Ghanaian Publisher, opinion marking to trigger recall of Parliament, reaffirms commitment to peace. AG defends constitutionality of MPs retaining seats. Election 2024, Adaklu residents better off with NPP, says Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. And Ghana to bag $5 billion from green gold annually. That'll be it for the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper. Our final newspaper is the Daily Dispatch newspaper. The Daily Dispatch, MPP is committed to ensuring peaceful elections, Napoto Christian Council. Over 78,000 Ghanaian passports ready for collection, MFA says so. So why are you not going to pick your passports? What are you waiting for? You're waiting for the connection man to go and pick it up for you, eh? Green gold agenda to generate over $5 billion annually for Ghana, Professor Duncan says so. And we are ready to deal swiftly with all election-related cases. Judicial Service says so. So for those of you who were criticizing Judicial Service that, because it's on the side of the NPP, they left other matters like the LGBTQ and all of that. Well, Judicial Service are saying that they are ready to deal swiftly with all election-related cases. And so they are not going to delay with anything that has to do with elections. Now, yesterday, we know what happened in Ghana. If you don't know, I'll give you a brief of it. On Thursday, the Speaker declared 4 seats in Parliament vacant, making the NDC majority in Parliament. On Friday, the NPP went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court stayed what the Speaker had said, meaning, or in ordinary language for the ordinary Ghanaian, and I am an ordinary Ghanaian, so it's not an insult. It simply means that there was a mini injunction on what the Speaker had said, and hence there was supposed to be a wait for 10 days till the case is heard and a verdict is drawn. So these 4 persons who are members of Parliament who are decided to contest on other tickets other than the one that took them to Parliament were to resume their seat and do the needful, that's to do their work. Yesterday, everybody was waiting on the Speaker to give a verdict as to whether he was in agreement of what the Supreme Court had said or what he had said. Was he going to stay by his words or he wasn't going to? There was a lot of tension in town, I must say, where people felt that if the Speaker toes a certain line, it could bring chaos in the country. And the experts did say the right thing to do was for the Speaker to adjourn. Yesterday, when the Speaker took his seat, he decided to adjourn. And so currently, Parliament is on recess for the next, we don't know, because it's indefinite. Now, these are the words of the Speaker, and if you permit me, I'll read it briefly. It says, honorable members, as you may recall, on Thursday, I informed the House pursuant to Order 18 of the Standing Orders on the occurrence of vacancies in the House in relation to 4 members. Yesterday, I received a process from the Supreme Court, which is a ruling from the Supreme Court pursuant to an ex parte application directing Parliament to recognize and allow the 4 affected members of Parliament to duly represent their constituents and conduct full scope of duties of their offices as members of Parliament pending final determination of a suit filed by Honourable Alexander Apenyo-Markin. By Article 102 and 104 of the Constitution 1992 and Order 641 of the Standing Orders of Parliament, I note that we currently have a quorum to transact business but not to take decisions. Read Articles 102, 104 of the Constitution and Standing Orders 641. Consequently, in view of the current circumstances, the fact that there is a question on the composition and constitution of Parliament and having regard to the public interest and exigence of the state of affairs in Parliament, I proceed to, in accordance with Standing Orders 59.1, adjourn the House indefinitely. That is, sine die. Standing Orders 59.1. The Speaker may, in consultation with leadership, suspend a meeting of the House indefinitely or for a period determined by the Speaker, having regard to the public interest and exigence of the state of affairs in the country. Honourable members, I have consulted leadership and I'm exercising my discretion to suspend the meeting of the House indefinitely. The House is accordingly adjourned. And these are the words of Honorable Alban Bagbin. So currently, this is what it is. So I have to have a conversation with my guests who are seated. I haven't welcomed Adele yet. Adele Alma Ibrahim, good morning, welcome.
Good morning, Rosalind.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Good.
We thank God. It's been a beautiful morning, and I'd like to say a warm good morning to Uncle. Yeah, I've been watching you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Rosalind, today I'd be doing something a bit strange, but I know eventually we'll come to an understanding of you know, what I seek to basically share with the audience. So let's get going.
Okay. Yes, Prof. You want to say something?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I thought you wanted to say something. All right. So all 3 guests are seated for the conversation. And yesterday, like I said, on social media, both political parties, that's the NDC and the MPP, are claiming to be majority in Parliament. I'll come to them. But I want to ask Professor John Osai Popong that with regards to what just happened yesterday, the impact in our political space currently.
Good morning again. It's an interesting time. Yesterday, a couple of us were having a conversation where the question was even being raised whether this is one of the biggest tests to our democracy and whether this is going to generate some kind of a constitutional crisis. My response is that tests to democracies are not a bad thing. Constitutional crisis is never a bad thing. At the end of the day, is the lessons we learn from it and how we resolve these difficult moments, for me, is what strengthens our democracy. Or, alternatively, how we choose to resolve it can also weaken us. And for me, I hope that we choose a path that allows us to resolve this in such a way that it strengthens our democracy, and we build consensus around some of these very vexing matters. Originally, when the issue was brewing, one of the questions that I asked myself was whether Article 97G and H refers to what happens in a future election, which is the basis upon which the next parliament will be constituted, or whether it applies to a current action. And that was the debate in my head. Initially, I said, well, if you read the second half of G, seeks to remain in parliament, the confusion in my head was, is it this current parliament or is it the next one? And so part of me was like, well, maybe it's the next one. Then I listened to the speaker give his ruling live, and he painstakingly goes through all the reasons why he believes the political mischief that the Constitution seeks to cure is more an immediate thing, because if it's the next parliament, then the point is even moot. If I don't win the election after having crossed parties or having become an independent candidate, then it's a moot point. So it's still unclear in my head. I mean, reasonable minds disagree. Some say it's this current parliament, and that is where the constitutional provisions apply. Others have also said, no, it doesn't apply here. Through all of this, for me, then, ultimately, I believe there has to be some constitutional interpretation of what those provisions actually mean and how we operationalize it. And at some point, I expect the Supreme Court to render a verdict on what it means and how we interpret 97G and H.
Yeah, because everybody's confused currently.
Yeah.
And this confusion has to end now. And I like what you just said, Prof. Palgrave, for the NPP, were you happy with the verdict from the Speaker of Parliament?
Rosie, let me greet you and greet the Majority Leader of Parliament, the Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin, together with the entire majority of the New Patriotic Party. Let me greet the flag bearer, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who is working tirelessly and hard enough to be able to give us a decisive victory, not only at the parliamentary level, but also at the executive. Rosie, you would recall that yesterday was a very reflective moment for me, where I shared my thoughts publicly and even shared my thoughts with you, that for 32 years of legislative work and parliamentary work, this indeed is where we must show a lot more maturity. When Mr. Speaker took his seat, my heart started beating. To be honest, my heart really started beating. And when he started giving his final statements and indefinitely put Parliament on hold, I wept, literally.
Why did you?
I wept because I felt that the Speaker had laid a bed that he didn't want to lie in it. But I'm also glad as well, because then the Speaker has respected the Supreme Court and has placed the ball back to the legal fraternity to have a lot more broader conversations. You'll recall that Speaker Michael Quay had a previous ruling, and so it was almost like a precedence that had been followed, for which reason the reasoning that Speaker Babin gave was on the premise of that, even though he could have deviated from that, and even though the circumstances under which Speaker Michael Quay gave his ruling is very different under these present circumstances. But it was important that we get to a stage in our constitutional supremacy to be able to bring clarity on issues where we have misunderstanding and issues where we don't agree. And so I think that the Supreme Court would be able to bring a ruling very clearly on Article 97, 1G and H. I don't think it's ambiguous at all. I would have wished very, very, very confidently that with the days that are left for a change in the constitution of parliaments, because there are a few more members of the 8th parliament that are not going to be in the 9th parliament because they lost their primaries. So there's going to be new membership. In the lead up to that, I felt that the Speaker would have been magnanimous enough to allow this to slide, and also to ensure that the government of business goes on, which is why the majority leader, the Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin, has stated that he's going to ask for a recall, because there are a lot more business of parliament that must go on. There are a lot more decisions that must be made. You are aware that there must be a budget for the transitional period and even Q1 of 2025 that must come to the floor of the House. And I feel that, I mean, like I stated yesterday, this is a test of our democracy. It's a proof of our growing maturity. I also stated very strongly that the minority NDC taking the right-wing position in Parliament yesterday was a mere charade, and you could clearly see that being exhibited, and the maturity that the NPP majority showed was very key. That we will not even be on the floor of the chamber, but we'll stay in our offices and allow proceedings to go on.
You know, yesterday, a few comments or a few concerns that came in is the fact that the NPP is sort of using the court to make the seat of the speaker lose its credibility. Now, I read what even Honorable Afenyo-Markin said, and he said that, God willing, tomorrow, that's Wednesday, October 23rd, the majority will trigger the recall of Parliament because the actions of the speaker are undermining parliamentary work. Now, anybody who read this will think, again, the same thing. Now, he further says that, let me get it. Undermining parliamentary work because the actual undermining parliamentary work so that the economy will suffer, and we will trigger the recall of Parliament, and we will see what he, Bagbin, will do. Again, Speaker's seat seems to not be respected by the NPP. It says a court has ordered you to take action, and you are going around the issue. Meanwhile, he is not Parliament, so we will trigger a recall.
So you see, what Majority Leader is stating is very right, and it's not as though we want to use the courts to recall Parliament. You are aware that in the composition of Parliament, the Speaker is not a member of Parliament because he doesn't represent a constituency. Parliament is made up of the majority, the minority, or even an independent. So the Speaker's role, in terms of the appointment of the Speaker's role, is to serve as a mediator. He doesn't even have a right to vote on decisions and issues that are happening. And you see, we are in a constitutional regime where it is important that we put to full proof and full litmus test the 1992 Constitution, because there are calls for some aspects of the 1992 Constitution to be amended. You will know that there's been calls from our political party, our flag bearer, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And so when we have issues with the smooth running of all the arms of government, from the executive to the legislature to the judiciary, if an aspect of that is not working, it impedes on government businesses, it impedes on the economy, it impedes on productivity. And so I think that is very right that the majority, which is the New Patriotic Party, recalls Parliament back. And it's not as though one wants to pick up Speaker Bagbin and denigrate him. That's not what we want to do. What we seek to do is to ensure that Parliament goes through the various motions that they must go through. And if there's a majority, which there is very clearly, which is the New Patriotic Party, we should be able to make sure that business of government goes on in the legislative arm of Parliament.
Okay, thank you very much. Adelma Ibrahim.
Rosalind,
are you still majority in Parliament, though?
I mean, we have indicated that, even yesterday, the new majority leader, Honorable Atuforsen, has indicated that we're still holding on to that and waiting for whatever remedies would come at the end of the day. Article 117, before we even go into all the other nitty-gritties, Article 117 says something categorically. I'd just like to start with that. Civil or criminal, basically just puts everything together. Process coming from any court, lower court, high court, Supreme Court, any court, or placed out of Parliament shall not be served on or executed in relation to the Speaker or a member or the clerk to Parliament while he is on his way to attending at or returning from any proceedings of Parliament. So the first service they attempted to do, first of all, was unconstitutional. It was based on this article that the Speaker of Parliament, together with the Chief Justice, came to an agreement, which would actually make sense because on Mondays, Parliament doesn't sit. So on any other day, you can meet a member of Parliament on the street and say, I'm going to Parliament. If Parliament is not in session, it's a different ballgame. But once Parliament is in session and it's been recalled, how about we agree on service to any of these persons on Monday? It was agreed on principle. And we know that when such agreements are made and you even decide that you don't want to work with it, there's something the court could have done. The court could have actually allowed this service to be done by just simply indicating that this is a unique situation. For that matter, we didn't see any of that. Again, the other thing that is a bit worrying for me is the fact that in the ruling that the court gave out, they indicated that the Speaker of Parliament did not give ear or did not listen to the persons that were affected. Meanwhile, right in front of the same Supreme Court judges, Afenyo Marking is asking for an ex parte on Parliament, and Parliament has not been listened to. The lawyers of Afenyo Marking themselves indicated to the judge that if you would kindly, in the latter part, if you would kindly give us this 10 days stay of execution, inshallah, would have, so we come and then give further justification, and then, of course, the defendant can also come and defend their case. The judges decide to give, indefinitely. But you haven't listened to Parliament. There's a reason why we say ex parte.
The judges decide to give what indefinitely?
The stay of execution.
It's 10 days.
No, it wasn't 10 days.
It's 10 days.
It wasn't 10 days.
It's 10 days.
10 days.
The stay of execution.
Yes, it's 10 days.
For, what do you call it?
It's 10 days for the hearing. 10 days and then they go into hearing.
No. I'm not making reference to this one. I'm making reference to the first, what do you call it?
I'm making reference to the ex parte, which
the
ex parte, which was laid on Friday.
On Friday.
On Friday.
Yes.
It's 10 days.
It's 10 days.
Then forgive me. Okay. I actually thought that because I heard a commentary, on Join News, which was on Friday, when they were discussing the fact that it was actually, indefinite. It wasn't within the time frame that they had actually requested for. But in all of it, when you sit down and you think about it, Rosalind, it still doesn't make any sense. Uncle said something. He said, what will be the use of Article 97 if the purpose of it is futuristic? Honestly, it doesn't make any sense. If you're telling me that the only time I'll be vacating my seat is when I have actually, it has to be in the next Parliament, of which we don't know whether you're winning or you're losing, it doesn't really make any sense. At what point in time are you supposed to vacate your seat? Article 97 says something.
You have just a minute, though.
Very well. Let me just glance through Article 97. So 97 says something, and I think this is a bit critical. I just want to take the first
Is it a GH?
part. Yes, the GH. I just wanted to take the first part of it, and then let's glance through something briefly. Okay, so it says categorically, the party has noted a member of Parliament, from this is basically what do you call it? Going independent means you have forfeited your membership. This is what you call John Boydu. And then in that, forgive me, I'm trying to get the
Which of it, so that I can get it for
H.
you?
If he was elected a member of Parliament as an independent candidate and joins a political party.
Is that what you're looking
97(1)H.
Okay, and then G.
G, if he leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election to Parliament to join another party or seeks to remain in Parliament as an independent member.
Okay, so let's look at it from this angle. The first one, from the first section, before we go to the independent candidate, it has indicated categorically that if he chooses to leave the party from which he belonged before he became a parliamentarian, your constitution, 39, indicates categorically, and as John Boydo has also indicated, that once you do that, you have forfeited your membership of the party.
I'll come back to you. Unfortunately, your time is up, so I'll come back
Very well.
to you. Let me go to Prof. Looking at what is happening, where the NPP is quick to run to court anytime something happens in Parliament, and looking at the system that we practice separation of powers. It seems as though, like I said earlier, people are thinking that the NPP is using the court to their advantage. And if the Speaker should one day get up and say, this is my seat, and so you do not have authority over me, it means that our democracy is going to be shaken, isn't it?
So I know that we tend to, in these matters, when there is lack of clarity, when we are not sure, when we really don't like certain decisions, right? We go to the court to seek some kind of arbitration or some kind of decision on what is the right path to take. But I'm also realizing that increasingly we are drawing in the courts to settle some of these politically sensitive questions. For me, in terms of institutional design and how institutions are supposed to work, it is also a very tricky and difficult time for the court, because how you handle these politically sensitive matters has a way of also reflecting on the perceptions that citizens have of the court. And my worry is that if you look at a lot of the public commentary when the court rendered this decision, there's this growing perception that the court is not treating all parties fairly, right? That they seem to have, quote unquote, a bias. And for me, that's a worrying perception. Particularly too, because if you look at the trend of trust in the courts, in the most recent Afrobarometer from 2022, trust in the court is also at an all-time low. So when all of these things are happening, it reinforces some of these unfortunate narratives that is developing about the court. Another issue that has come up is the predictability of the court. Institutions are supposed to be predictable in the sense of the processes they use, the certainty that you'll be heard, things like that. But when individuals start feeling like the court is predictable in terms of its outcome of decisions, I find that also worrying. So for me, one of the things that we need to try and resolve of this is that you want to make sure that at the end of this crisis, you don't weaken Parliament and the role of the Speaker, because Parliament is supposed to also be its own co-equal branch of government with its own rules, procedures, how they want to conduct their business. The challenge, though, is that if in the conduct of that business, there's some indication or some feeling that, well, something offends the Constitution, then you have to end up bringing in the courts to say, how do we resolve this constitutional matter? And so it's convoluted, it's tricky, but you want to make sure that you don't keep drawing the court too much into these politically sensitive issues, right? I just hope that sometimes, even within our own internal processes, rules, you can resolve these things without always running to the court.
Are we not seeing this because we have a hung parliament?
I believe so. And I also think that if this wasn't going to impact who remains majority and who remains minority, I don't think this issue would have escalated to the level that it has. But because control of Parliament is at stake, I think that's why it's, we are where we are now, because it really does impact who takes control of Parliament and who doesn't. And the other point I want to also make about drawing in the court on some of these vexing matters is that, sometimes you can actually make, quote unquote, a bad situation worse when you draw in the court. Because once the court pronounces, a precedent is set, and good or bad, you have to follow it. Versus if you could have found ways to internally use your own processes to resolve it, then you at least hold off on the final determination of some of these vexing questions, because you can use conventions, you can use precedents within your own institution to try and make some of these things work.
Okay, I'll come back to you and ask you more questions. But, Doc, it seems, again, back to the same thing, you know, with regards to what Prof is saying, the court is being abused in a way by the NPP, and that's the sentiments of people. And it seems as though anytime the NPP goes to court, it goes in their favor.
I disagree. You know, I disagree. I don't think that narrative should be encouraged, especially in light of the time we find ourselves and the sensitivity of the issues. If the law is not on the side of any political color whatsoever. If the law gives a ruling and it goes to a particular political party or a particular person, it does not mean that the law is favoring that political party. The 1992 Constitution, as we know, does not wear MPP, does not wear NDC, does not wear CPP. It's distinct on its own, and it's a standalone. So I would disagree with that narrative at all. I mean, you see, we are a budding democracy. We are a growing democracy, and so for the Fourth Republic and how young it is that we have practiced this democracy and how young our constitution is, when issues arise and we don't have a lot more case in reference, we need to be able to create those case in reference for future issues that would arise. You recall that yesterday during my reflection, I mentioned very clearly that what would happen yesterday would go into the annals of history, so that in case references, we can also refer, which is why the speaker laid a bed that he could not lie in it. And I commend him for his boldness to say that let's take all of it back into the remit of the legal regime for the courts to be able to give a final determination of this, because we do not know when next. It could be either in the 10th Parliament, it could be in the 12th Parliament, or the 50th Parliament that an issue of this nature would reoccur again. And so let's bring finality to it, so that when it happens in the next 20 years, we can recall that in 2024, the Supreme Court, preceded by these members in terms of the Supreme Court judges, ruled that Article 97, 1, G and H means A, B, and C. Because you see, the 1992 Constitution is supreme. It's supreme than any political party constitution. So when I hear that Adele is quoting our Constitution, I mean, the 1992 Constitution is supreme. It's above every other thing whatsoever.
You know,
so when we go to court,
here, we get you, but the concern here is the fact that when Honorable Michael Quaid did that ruling, the NPP, because you had written to him, you felt it's okay. Why is it that when Honorable Alban Bagbin did it, there's a problem with it?
But do you realize that the procedural issues are not the same? Okay. Did any of the political parties write to Speaker Bagbin? The answer is no. None of the political parties, not NDC, not MPP, unless Adele is here to tell me that they wrote to Speaker Bagbin before his reasoning or during the period when he said...
Must he be written to before?
No, but you see, we deal with procedures. That's what we are dealing with.
Is that what the Constitution says?
No.
That you have to write to the Speaker before the Speaker gives
that's not what the Constitution says. But I'm trying to say, if you're looking at precedents of what Speaker Michael Quaid did, and you look at precedents of what is happening now, they don't run apart.
No, the question here is, everybody operates different.
Absolutely.
So the question here is, must the Speaker be written to before the Speaker decides to give a...
The Speaker must be informed.
Okay.
Okay? In the role of the Speaker must be informed. Then the Speaker would inform the House.
So the Speaker must be informed by the political... Is that what the Constitution says?
Well, yes.
Can you provide it?
No, hold on.
Okay.
The Speaker must be informed.
By?
Okay. So like as it is with a political party, the Speaker must be informed from the political party, because every single member who is a parliamentarian has become a parliamentarian on the backbench of a political party.
Okay.
Do you understand? Which is why the political party constitution guides that procedure. Okay? Even in cases where you have someone who is diseased, the Speaker must be informed.
Okay.
So every single issue that happens on the floor of the House, the Speaker must be informed.
All right.
When the Speaker is informed, then the Speaker can now inform the House.
All right. So, Prof, I need you to explain this for us, because when we go to the NDC, they will say a different thing altogether. So what is the right procedure?
But if my understanding is correct, I thought that the Honorable former minority leader, forgive me if that's wrong though, right? No, not Michael Kwe, Haruna.
Haruna,
I
yes.
thought he had submitted some kind of a petition or had sent something to the speaker on that matter.
Haruna first brokered this on a campaign platform.
No, we're making reference to the...
I just want to understand, because you said the speaker has to be informed.
Yes.
And I want to know,
But I'm just reminding
the procedure...
I'm reminding Prof that the first place where we had this was on a campaign platform before we even got to...
Okay, so whichever it is...
Yeah.
No, I'm giving a process. Why? You don't want me to mention that was where it came out first?
But I thought that eventually, though...
Eventually.
He gave the speaker something formal in writing.
Yes.
Petition.
Yes.
Right, so he did petition the speaker, and that was when then the speaker says, give me 48 hours.
I think that was not what happened.
Okay.
So from what I recall, the member of the minority, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, had made this statement on a campaign platform and then was intending to file a question or a statement on the floor of the House. When they got to the floor of the House, then the minority leader, Kaisel Atoforsen, raised it as a statement. So that's what happened.
So there was no official writing, is that what you're saying?
No, as far as I recall from the hazards.
But does that constitute informing the speaker?
Which one?
The Honorable Atoforsen raising it as a statement.
On the floor of the House, yes. Of course.
So then the speaker then has been informed.
Yes.
So then the speaker then being informed decides that he would need 48 hours, come back and give a ruling.
And so I just want to understand, must the information come from that party or it can come from any member of parliament?
I think it can come from any member of parliament.
Okay.
Yes, I believe it can come
from
any...
So the speaker was informed?
Yes, the speaker was informed. And then based on that, he comes back 48 hours and later and says, this is my decision, right?
It looks like egos are at play here.
Everybody is, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, right? But publicly, it feels as though everybody is at each other's throats. But I also believe that some of these MPs have worked long enough together. Some of them go way back that I sometimes don't believe that the public acrimony that we see being displayed by them is how they treat each other privately.
Okay.
You know.
Adele?
Rosalind.
It's supposed to be me.
No, you landed before Adele.
No.
Am I? Would
No, when you landed,
would it come back again? Or
It will.
Final remark?
No, it's okay.
It's a final. It's everybody's final remark.
But so I haven't had my final.
No, you haven't had your final.
So go ahead. Go ahead.
You have
Nice to see you.
debut.
We'll
give it 2 extra minutes.
Okay, please make your point.
Okay, so I'll start from here. I wanted to say something, but I have to start from here, looking at the timing. Palgrave, he's a pastor. And he knows that when you're making statements, definite statements, in Islam, what we say is that, in fact, the Quran says something. وَلَا تَكُلُّنَّ لِشَيْئًا إِنِّي فَائِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا إِلَّا أَنْ يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. And do not be the ones to be saying, when you want to make statements, that I shall do so and so tomorrow. Illa, unless you add to it that, inshallah. Why? Because God can decide to take your life, and then you will not even exist to do it. So when you make definite statements like, oh, we would win these elections, Prof will be here to congratulate us. You see, we will win.
So as a Christian, let me say this. As a Christian, we speak into our future.
Oh.
Aha.
All right. So
I'm really surprised at where the sheikh is going to.
No problem.
Because he's the sheikh. I'm surprised at how he's misinterpreting the whole Quran.
No, I am not misinterpreting the Quran. Perhaps what I don't know is that when the Christian speaks, it doesn't matter whether they say if God wills. That is what I want to
we use the power of the tongue.
No problem.
Yes.
So that is what you do.
Yes. And God will back it.
So here's what I have to say this morning. Inshallah. If the Almighty God wills. Not my will. Like Jesus said, not my will. When God wills, the NDC would win this year's elections. Bi-iznillah. Having said that, I just want to add this small thing to it. This whole issue, and then we keep going back and forth on it. As we sit today, what is the MPP in court seeking to prove? Or what are they seeking from court? They are seeking from court to maintain candidates from their side who used to be members of their political party. They are insisting to the court to allow these same persons to sit in this current parliament as independent candidates.
No.
Why? If you file,
No.
I'm coming. If you file,
No.
right? I'm coming. Please. You have filed. They have filed. Question we're asking first is that,
more though.
are they members of the MPP as we speak? If they are, you probably should be looking at, working on your constitution. Because as we speak, they are not members of your party. As we speak,
That's
no.
That's an internal.
No, see, that's the problem.
Constitution,
It cannot be Dufiasm.
Constitution is
It
constitution.
cannot. So if you
amend
say,
that.
no, agree. So if you say that they are still members of your party, even though they have gone independent, you see, when you lose, you lose. Why? Because then what it means is that you were unfair to the MP for Fomena. That's what you have done. There's no equity. Your constitution doesn't guarantee equity. And if there's no equity, why are people even moving to you? That means you can decide to change your rules as and when you want it, depending on whether it favors you or not. So why should anybody have comfort to wanting to join the MPP if you can change your rules depending on what favors you? That's a problem. Now, if you admit that, yes, they are no longer members of your political party, then what you're basically telling us is that you're in court seeking the Supreme Court to insist to Parliament that allow them to continue to sit there, even though they don't belong to the NPP anymore, but they can be independent candidates. What happens then, Article 97? Either way you turn, it's problematic.
Okay, Adele. Thank you very much.
I'm glad that Prof stated that the majority, from all indications, is the New Patriotic Party. I'm glad with that. But Article 1123 and Standing Order 38 allows 15% of members to request the Speaker to summon a sitting, to consider some pertinent issues. So I am looking forward to the recall of Parliament by the majority led by the Honorable Afenyo Maki.
And this 15%, must it be just one side or
No,
it has to be-
15%. I mean,
it has to
it really
be-
doesn't.
doesn't really
Yeah,
matter.
15%.
Okay.
I mean, so we're looking forward to that. And I mean, obviously, as a Christian, as a pastor, which the NDC always wants to tell me, but I know I'm a pastor. When I speak, I know that by the grace of God, on the 7th of December, God will do the New Patriotic Party good.
He just went my way by the grace of God.
No, of course. No, but then you see.
You're home.
No.
You're not back home.
I've always been home. I've always been home.
Now he wants to challenge with God.
No,
God has
no.
answered mine first.
Wow, 7th of December will be quite interesting, I must say. Yeah.
But truth be told, I mean, I think that beyond God, beyond the spiritual, is a lot of hard work.
Certainly.
We have seen indication and indicators that navigates towards the New Patriotic Party. We've exerted more work. The fruits of President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo is very clear. It's stated in our manifesto. People can read that. When people travel along the length and breadth of this country, they are marveled with the level of work. And oftentimes they ask, why haven't we trumpeted it enough? So the works that we have done is a clear indication for us. And the candidates that are being on the ballots in terms of the NDC and the MPP, Dramani Mahama is no match for Dr. Bawumia. Dr. Bawumia will beat him hands down.
Okay. The citizens will decide when they go to polls on the 7th of December. Prof, your final words.
So, in the final resolution of this, I am hoping that whichever side the court comes down on this vexing matter, I hope they are able to deal with it delicately enough that they don't make pronouncements on how Parliament conducts its business, right? I would really hope that they respect that independent, co-equal branch of government. So nothing about whether the speaker took the right steps, etc., etc. Leave that question alone. And then just rule on the substantive matter of what 97(1) G and H means. In that way, you give the constitutional interpretation, but you also preserve the independence, and you respect the principle that Parliament is master of its own rules and can conduct its business how it sees fit, so long as the things they do not offend the Constitution. The other last point that I would add is, if the court comes down on the fact that 97(1)G&H means what happens in the current Parliament, we have to also think about what does that then mean practically, right? If I'm sworn in on January 7th and my party does something and I get upset with my party, and I immediately declare that I'm going to be an independent candidate, depending on how the court rules, if it's future, does it mean that my party would have to wait for 4 years and deal with me after having, what does that also mean for the voters who voted for you in a particular way? So there are some real practical impacts of how the courts help us settle 97(1)G&H.
Well, thank you so much. And with regards to what you just landed on, one would say, oh, we are done, Adele. You want them to come and meet me? You want them to come and meet me? Oh, I have to go.
No, just a second.
It is not fair.
Let me talk.
No, but it is not fair.
But my time is up. My time is up.
It is not fair.
So my time is up. So
and you want to be able to
$4.2 per dollar and $16 per dollar.
You want to be able to
okay, so on that note, we have ended this segment. But you can stay glued to your television set because we have what's trending that will be coming up. But don't wait, gentlemen.
Life is leap forward, never leap backward.
So we should suffer.
Gentlemen. Prof, with what you just ended with, saying that as to whether it will have to be a future deal or it will have to be the current immediate deal, then it means that what Speaker Michael Quay did has now been cancelled. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that precedent won't stand, this precedent won't. So again, the court has...
Because that one was acted upon.
Let me tell you what...
So it will be immediate.
Yep.
Not the next government.
Precisely.
Good.
So yeah, interesting times ahead.
Okay.
Let me tell you what...
So will these persons that, if their seat is vacant, will they receive ex gratia?
If my understanding is correct, they would... up until when the seat was declared vacant, because they still did serve up until a certain point. So yes, you won't deny them their ex gratia. It will be minus those days when the seat was vacant.
But if they say next government, then they will enjoy it, right?
Yes.
No, they'll enjoy the full
they'll enjoy the full benefit if it has to happen in the next government.
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting times, I might
the
say.
next government, it will be so absurd. Because then it has no use. That article should be thrown away.
No, that next government is the new Patriotic Party.
Okay, so on that note, I'll say this is all time will permit us. But Prof, how come you're not in African print? Like everybody's in the African wears. Me, I'm not, but I wear it on Fridays. So everybody knows.
I didn't get the memo. I won't.
But do you usually wear it?
Yes.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I do.
Okay, that's nice. And we have a Made in Ghana Fair coming up from the 14th to the 17th of November, and it's powered by us at Joy Prime, and I'm excited about it. I keep on telling Esiedua, showing off to Esiedua, listen, when I was there I was drinking palm wine, so this time you have to be there too. So I'll be inviting all of you.
And 15 seconds real quick, NCCE, National Commission for Civic Education, will be launching their Matters of Concern to the Ghanaian Voter Report this morning, 10 a.m. So please attend, tune in. And then Afrobarometer round 10 at Ghana Shippers Authority in Ridge. Okay. And then Friday morning, Afrobarometer round 10 will be disseminated at CDD Ghana.
All right, fantastic.
And then, Rosie, you are aware that this morning, the young ladies who were involved in an accident, one of them,
is going to be buried. Yeah, Justine.
There's a memorial service at Christ the King. And so from here, we'll all join.
Rosie, are you also aware of the fact
the
that, we used to buy hard at 15. But we
On that note, this is all time will permit us. But don't forget that from the 14th to the 17th of November, we are all going to the Good Pack for such a wonderful time. It's a wonderful time. So we'll be selling items at discounted prices. There will be lots of food to eat, and this time is made in Ghana dishes. So is there a chicken that you haven't eaten in a long time? When you go to town, you to buy a chicken, it's so expensive. Worry no more. It's discounted at Made in Ghana Fair. Gobe, discounted. Wache, discounted. Banku and okru, banku and tilapia, fufu. I mean, everything is discounted. Just make sure that you are there. And it's actually from the 14th to the 17th of November. I'm excited about it. I'm sorry, I don't know. I think I'm more excited than anybody else. Maybe because I am fully fledged. My blood is Joy Prime, and we are bringing it to you. So obviously, I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to see. If you want to be a vendor, you can still get in touch with us and, showcase your items to the world and also make good money out of that. It's time to make money. Anyway, this all time will permit us for this segment. I want to thank my guests for being here. Big thank you to Dr. Palgrave Boachidankwa, who represented the NPP this morning. Thank you so much, Doc. And Professor Osai Kwapong, who is a political analyst. And I don't know if he's done his polls yet. Have you done your polls? I should see you in private. I'll see you in private. And Adele Ibrahim, who represented the NDC. Thank you so much, Adele. All right.